Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So this is a Sloth planter hanger. I've got the hanger parts here. So I'm going to use a 5.5. This is just your ordinary run-of-the-mill Bernat Super Value taupe, I believe is the color. So we're going to start with a magic ring, and we're going to put 6 single crochets inside. That is my 6th the hard way. You're going to need a stitch marker because we're going to build this in, you guessed it, amigurumi style. So no slip stitching, no chaining, just jumping right into the next round. We're going to do 2 single crochets in each stitch. So after your first stitch, you're going to put your stitch marker. Then you can put your second stitch in there. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase, bringing you up to 18 stitches. That's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. Number 1 gets the marker. That's 2 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets 2 single crochets in the same space for the increase. This will bring you up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 3 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. This will bring you up to 30 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. Now this will bring you up to 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 42 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. So this is what we're going to keep doing so that we can keep it flat. We're not doing any 1 single crochets in each stitch because we want to keep it flat for the bottom. So I'm going to put on my screens. We're going all the way up to 9 single crochets in an increase. I think you probably have the idea of what we're doing. So I'm going to put up, starting with 5 single crochets increase, I'm going to put up everything that you need to do, and then I'll meet you back here after. Alrighty, this is your 9 single crochet increase. You should have 66 stitches. Before we continue, let's take care of this guy back here. I just like to tie a knot and cut it off. I don't know if you guys watch any of my other videos or not, but I don't like to screw around with this. Now, keep in mind, the only thing that's going to be sitting inside of this is a planter. So, it doesn't really matter what it looks like. But I cut it off and leave a little nubby, just so the knot doesn't undo itself. So, now what we have to do next is going to take it from a flat piece to a bowl, basically. So, it's going to put this artifact all the way around the bottom. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, but we're going to do back loops only. So let me pull my hook out. These are your back loops. That one, that one, that one. These are your front loops. So you don't have to turn this at all. This is they're standing right up there, easy to get access to. These ones right there, back loops only. So that's what we're going to be doing for 66 stitches. So you'll see it written as BLO, and that stands for back loop only. So I just like to put my finger and push that back loop on. I don't try to really get my hook underneath there. I don't want to piddle around with it, so I just use my finger and I push it on, basically. So it goes nice and quick for me. So this is what you should have. You should have this ridge all the way around. So now it sits, but right here is where it's going to start turning into a bowl. Just like that. So it'll sit all the way around like this. It's kind of hard to see right now, but when we start, our next 15 rounds will be 1 single crochet in each stitch, and this will be the full stitch. So none of this back loop only business. This is the full stitch. So for the next 15 rows, you're going to put 1 single crochet in each stitch for 66 stitches, and I'll see you on the other side. Alrighty, so this is what you should have. My 15 rows is complete. Take my counter off. So the final row, let me show you on my other one here. So I put this rim around the top of the hat. this rim around the top of the planter, just to give it more stability and a better look. So I did that by going around the front post only. So right here you've got a front post, a front post. So that's what we call posts. So we're going to go around the front post, so go in and around. So now that's on my hook, the front post. I'm going to yarn over. I'm going to pull through and finish my stitch. And I'm going to go right into, now I don't need my stitch marker because I'm going to be able to see where I've started doing this. So go into your next, around your next post, yarn over, finish the stitch. So we're just going to do that all the way around. It's going to put this rim so it's going to start feeling funny. But just let it happen. Because what it's doing is putting this rim, nice thick rim, all around the top of your, so this is where it's not, and this is where it is. And that's the top. I have to turn it over to get that. So that's what it's doing. And it's going to give your basket a much better look, although it is going to feel funny. It's going to feel like it's getting out of shape, and it's not. I mean, I guess it sort of is, but it's supposed to happen. So I'll just keep doing this around each post. So I'm back around. I'm going to do this last one. And that should be it. So, oh no, I might actually have one more left. Sorry, I lied. I have one more post. And now I'm going to go into this stitch. I'm going to slip stitch. I'm going to fasten off. So you just need a weaving tail. So that's what it looks like now. You've got this nice thick rim all the way around your basket. There, your basket should sit like that with this nice and flat, with this nice rim around the top. So we can just weave in our end, and then so this is the first big thing of this project, and the second big thing that's time consuming is the legs. So I think we will start those first, and we'll leave the head for the last because it's not as time consuming. It goes actually pretty quick. So I just pulled through there because I wanted to try to pull that down and up to make it look better. And then I'm just going to weave. It's pretty tight in here, so I don't really have to weave a whole lot. But I am trying to split the stitches too, so it kind of just helps hold things in place. I'm just going to go back up in the same spot. There. Now we'll get some legs done. So we are going to move on and use our 4mm for the legs, because I am using a 4-weight worsted, and what I want to do is make them really tight, because I mean basically your plant's going to be hanging from these legs. So I wanted them just to be sturdy, so that's why I chose to go with the 4mm, because my yarn calls for a 5mm, so I actually dropped down in a whole hook size for this. So we're going to start with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. Your next round would normally be 2 single crochets in each stitch, but I want this to be kind of pointy, so I decided that I'm going to go with 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's my 1 single crochet, and my next stitch gets the increase. Now I only have 6 stitches, so you're going to do it 3 times. So it's pretty tight. Pull your center closed. You can tie a knot and do that deal that I normally do, but I don't think that you have to, because it is so tight that I don't think this is popping back open. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. Now we're going to do that throughout this project until we get down to where we're not increasing anymore. We're going to put 1 single crochet in the middle of our increases. So I'm going to put my screens up for that for you to follow. But anyway, you've got 9 stitches, so 1 single crochet in each of these 9 stitches. So I'm going to turn mine over. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase, and this brings you up to 12 stitches. So that's number 1 with your stitch marker. It's 2 single crochets and then your increase. And then the next round after this will be 1 single crochet in each of those 12 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. I'm just going to stick my tail down into this. We're not stuffing this, by the way. So your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. This brings you up to 15 stitches, and then you can put 1 single crochet in each of those 15 stitches. That's 3 single crochets and counting your marker, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the next stitch. Your next round is going to be rounds up. It's going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. This will bring you up to 18 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets, and then your next one gets 2 single crochets in the same space for the increase. Then once you're done this, you can do 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. Your next rounds are going to be 5 single crochet and an increase. This brings you up to 21 stitches. And then after this, you can put 1 single crochet in each of those 21 stitches. I'm just trying to make the video faster. That's why I'm doing it this way. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets. And then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. Your next rounds are going to be 6 single crochets and an increase. This brings you to 24 stitches. That's number 1. That's 6 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets 2 single crochets for the increase. Repeat, and then after this you can do 1 single crochet in each of these 24 stitches, and I will see you on the other side. Next round is going to be 7 single crochets and an increase. This brings you to 27 stitches, and that's as far as we're going with our increases. So that's number 1. That's 7 single crochets, and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Alrighty, from here, you should have 27 stitches. You're going to do 19 rows of 1 single crochet in each stitch around for 27. So it actually goes pretty fast. The long part of it is you got to make 4 of these all together. So when you're done this one, you still got to do 3 other ones. So I will put my pattern on the screen, and you can finish this one, and then the pattern will be up to make your other 3, and I will see you on the other side. So I am done all of mine. This is my last one, so I'm just going to slip stitch and fasten off with a sewing tail. So Get all my other ones right here. We're gonna put this on the side. You can stuff these if you want. I did not. I thought it would, if they were not all stuffed the same, throw off the balance of your plant hanger. But anyway, we're going to whip stitch the top closed. Unless you're stuffing it, then you're going to stuff it first and then whip stitch the top closed. So a whip stitch is generally back loop to back loop. But we're just gonna fake whip stitch, and we're just gonna go through all pieces. It doesn't really matter. The look of it's probably gonna be a better look if you just did a regular whip stitch, but ultimately you're gonna be sewing this onto something, so you're probably gonna destroy the look of it anyway. So whip stitch all yours together. Well, don't whip stitch them all together. Whip stitch the tops of all of your legs. And I'll meet you back here. So, I think this might be easier to sew on before we put the head. Or, I mean, we haven't even made the head, but I mean, before we make and sew the head on, I think we should probably just sew the legs on. It's probably going to be easier than trying to do it with the head attached. So I basically just did this. Found my spot where this lined up with the edge of that corner, and this lined up. So you know what the slanty slant is? So, oh, I can't even see the other side. So this and this line up with, like I've slanted it that way, and I'm keeping my corners together. And I'm just going to eyeball it to make sure that I'm in the middle. And then, so. Now I do not sew well. So please don't take lessons from me, but I just went in and out. And then like up, because you got to sew all up here too, because you want to make sure that this is absolutely going to hold whatever plant you're putting in your little pot. So you're going to have to sew all the way up the back. So, go ahead and sew your legs on, and then we can meet back here to do the head. So when you go in on this side, go as close as you can to your lead so it just looks like a stitch. And then this side, it doesn't really matter how where you come out. As long as this side, where everyone's going to see, it just looks like a stitch. So, that's my only advice I have. So, when I got to the end of this, I just grabbed a piece on the back side and made a knot. And I pulled down like that. So if you've pulled too tight over here, just kind of go in and pull it back out a little bit, because you don't want to see those divots. You're probably not going to completely get away with it, but, and then just for added security, you can weave. I don't think anyone's really going to be seen inside of your basket. One down, 3 to go. This side I sewed on a little bit different. I laid them so that they were even. And instead of going in and out, I'm doing what we know to be invisible stitches. Just because I don't want to lift it up and move it. Now when you grab the planter, you don't need to grab a whole crap ton of, you just need to grab a piece of yarn or two to be able to do this. You don't need to grab a whole bunch, and if you do, it's just going to get all bunchy and look horrible. One of these is going to obviously hang toward a window, and the other one is going to hang inside your house, so either way it's going to be visible, so you want it to look decent. There's all kinds of different ways you can sew this on, and I'm sure any sewer will know. I just did it this way because, first of all, I suck at sewing, and I just wanted to make sure that I was going to be even. So once I get that part done, then I can do what I was doing before and go in and out, because I got to do all this up here. So I just chose to do it those ways because I wanted to not screw it up. So whatever side you like better, if you're doing what I've done, whatever side you like better is you're going to make the head face out that way. Alright, so I got all my legs sewn on, and I've got my claws. Now they only have 3, but we've got an extra one down here because I had to find a way to secure it. So the last thing you want is one of these popping open, pulling out while it's hanging. So we need to put this together like so. Put your 2 tops together. So it doesn't matter where you go in, it just matters where you come out. So go in wherever and pop out at the top of one of these hands. Now don't pull this all the way through, we need it for tying. So you're going to come across and go into here just like a regular sewing stitch, but of course you want to leave some space. Then you're going to come back through here just like you're sewing the 2 ends together and come out here. But again, sorry, that's my camera that bangs up against the table, that knocking. Again, you want to leave the space. 3rd time, back through, leaving the space, and then go down just below that, just so it looks like a stitch on this side. You're going to go down below that, but you're going to come out down here. So go down below, but pop out right next door to this. Now make sure that there's at least a post in between those 2. And again, leave the space. Leave the space here. Now, it's going to be hanging in a window, and you're probably not even going to notice this 4th one, so I wouldn't be too upset about it. But you really need to make sure this is secure, because the last thing you want is that coming open. That's holding all your weight. Those guys right there is holding all your weight. So there should be a post or something in between these 2 pieces. Hopefully you're going to tie some very tight, not too tight that you pull that too tight. So focus more on tightening your 2nd knot and your third knot, however many you want to put in. I'm going to put in 3 because it still keeps it small enough that it's not even going to be noticeable. But I think if you put in any more than that, somebody might actually see the knot. And then without going down the same hole, try to avoid that. I guess it doesn't really matter. It's around a post, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But you want to just pull down on that. So tuck these, weave these 2 guys in. And then you can tie another knot if you want to. If you want to be extra secure, you can come down and tie another knot down here and then weave that in. But see, and that's just so small, it's not going to be that noticeable. I mean, on camera it is because I'm showing it to you, but and then you can tie another knot here if you wanted to, but I think the knot I tied is sufficient. So that is the claws. Now I had done it on my other one in a deeper brown, but their claws are actually pretty light claws. So that is done for this part. So next we'll move on to the head. It's kind of hard to show you when I don't have a pot. So let's move on and do the head. So the head I did with a 5mm. And we're going to start off the same way with a magic ring and 6 single crochets. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets in each stitch around. So you can use your stitch marker here, it will go in after the first one, or you can just count to 12. I'm just going to count to 12. Your next round is going to be 1 single crochet and an increase. So that's 1 single crochet, and then your next stitch will be your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space, and repeat. Your next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. That's 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets 2 single crochets in the same stitch for your increase. So this brings you up to 24 stitches. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. It's number 1. That's 3 single crochets and your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. This brings you up to 30 stitches. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase, making it easy peasy. There's 4 single crochets, and then your next stitch gets the increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. bringing you up to 36 stitches. Your next round is going to be 5 single crochets and an increase, and this will bring you up to 42 stitches. Once you're done your increase, you can do 4 rows of 1 single crochet in each of those 42 stitches. That's number 1. That's 5 single crochets and then your increase of 2 single crochets in the same space. And repeat. So this is what you should have. This is what it should look like. So now we're going to start decreasing. Because we ended off with a 5 single crochet increase, we're going to start with a 5 single crochet decrease. So that's number 1. That's 5 single crochets, and then your decrease, so you go into the first stitch, pull up a loop, go into your second stitch, pull up a loop, and then pull through all 3 of those loops. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and a decrease. So this will bring it back down to 30 stitches. That's number 1. That's 4 single crochets and then your decrease. And repeat. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and a decrease, bringing you down to 24 stitches. Sorry, that's 3 single crochets. I almost forgot what I was doing. And a decrease. And repeat. So your next round is 2 single crochets and a decrease. This head's going to be a little different than most of the heads that we do. I could have done the sloth face that everybody does for their hangers, which is one-dimensional, but I don't think that would have looked good. It would have looked like everybody else's, but I gotta be different. That's 2 single crochets and a decrease. This head's going to be a little different, not only because it's two-dimensional. It is not being closed. So we're only going to go so far, and then we're going to sew it on open, which is unusual for a head when you're building a head, or when I'm building a head. I mean, usually you're closing it or you're adding a body to it, but this one's a little different, obviously. So when you're done this round, do 1 single crochet in each of those 18 stitches you should have. And then you can fasten off if you want to go ahead and work away. And I'll see you on the other side. So I am done my 1 single crochet in each stitch, and that's as far as we're going. So you can fasten off. Sorry, my computer's decided it's going to wake up and start handing me all kinds of notifications right now. So you need enough to sew it to the side of the basket. So I like to come into the next stitch and I like to pull this through to the inside and pull up. It just gives it a better look. And it's a cleaner look when you start sewing it. So let's put some eyes on. I have to see where I put my eyes on this guy. Oh yeah, we got to build these things before I put the eyes on. Okay, set him aside. We're not even going to stuff him yet. We're going to build these brown things to put our eyes on. So that's what we're going to do next. So I used this chocolate brown color.
Oh gosh. Should be a beginning somewhere. Oh good lord. Okay, my thing's all jacked up.
So I used this chocolate brown color. These are 12mm eyes, I'm pretty sure. It didn't actually say. And then I used a 4mm hook to make them because, again, this yarn calls for a 5mm and I want it to be nice and tight, so I used a 4. So it's pretty fast. You just need to make a slip knot. And you're going to chain 9. I'm going to turn my light up a little bit since it's so dark. So you're going to single crochet the first 4 stitches. 1 in each. There's 4. Pull my yarn out. Then you're going to do 3 half double crochets. And in the final stitch you're going to put 4 half double crochets. So we're going to work in the round here. So that's 4 all in the same space. So you should have curved around. So we're going to follow the curve. So turn it sideways now. Make sure you're getting into this very next stitch. So beside this big hole that you've just created, this is the next stitch you're going into. And you're going to go into it with half double crochet. Next stitch gets a half double crochet. So we're just doing the same thing we did on the other side, but backwards. Next stitch gets a half double, and then you're going to do 4 singles. I'm weaving in my tail, by the way. I guess I should have mentioned that. And this is my 4th single crochet. So we have to make another one. This is going to your next stitch and fasten off. With a sewing tail, I weaved this in so I can just cut that off. So go ahead and make your second one. I will put it on my screen and I will see you back here in a minute because it is so quick. Alright, I lied. That took me 3 minutes. So now that you've got your eye patches, you're going to that big hole that we made up here. You're going to stick your eye into that, and that's going to go into your head. It's going to be hard to press down because they don't give you very long ends, but it can happen. And if you can't get the backs on, then at least use glue just to keep everybody safe. So, see where I put these. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Between the 5th and 6th row is where I put my eyes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And 6 stitches apart. So between the 5th and 6th row. So make sure this is at the back. Let's do the front. 1, 2, 3, 4. 5th and 6th row. So we'll stick one in there. Very hard to get the backs on. Oh, I might have actually got it on. Okay. So that's one. Huh, I had to use my teeth. Anyway, before we start sewing it though, I want you to stuff it. Stuff it pretty solid too. This has to kind of stand up on its own when it's on the side of the plant thing. It's not like it's sitting on top of a body or anything. So once you think you have enough stuffing, you can start to sew on your eyes. So they kind of angle up a bit, just a bit. So I'm just going to do invisible stitches. So I'm just going to grab a couple pieces of yarn and come up into it. And when I pull, that gets sucked in underneath. So that's all I'm going to do. Don't need to go deep with it. You just need a couple pieces of yarn. All those couple pieces of yarn add up when you get to the end of it. There's you can also kind of go down and pop out into another spot, and then you go back down that same spot and come up into a different spot in the eye. So you can do it that way too, which probably is a cleaner look. Just make sure you come up into a hole and you're not splitting any stitches or not splitting any yarn, because it'll be harder to get back down that same hole if you do. So that way there's absolutely nothing that you're going to see on the side. But then this happens, that's the drawback, is sometimes you grab stuffing. And then it looks horrible because you've pulled up, oh gosh, because you've pulled up some stuffing. And you gotta try to pick it off. But it does give a nice hold. I don't really think anyone's going to be trying, it's a plant holder, so I don't think they're going to be trying to rip your eye off, so you can just pop out somewhere and cut it off. So I am back around, and I'm just going to go down and pop out somewhere, cut it off. So wherever you might have pulled too tight, you can just go in and lift it back up. And just straighten my stuff in again. So next we'll move on to obviously the muzzle. Muzzle is done with a 5mm hook. We're going to do a magic ring of 6 single crochets. So this muzzle has to be pointy. So to get a point, we bypass that 2 single crochet in each stitch business. So your next round is going to be 1 single crochet increase. Jumping right into it. That's 1 single crochet. Find my stitch marker. And then your increase. Which is 2 single crochets in the same space. I should probably turn my light down now. And repeat. 1 single crochet, 2 single crochets. One more time. So I should have 9 stitches. And I just want you to put 1 single crochet in each of those 9 stitches. And in doing this, we're going to accentuate the point. So it's just going to be a longer point. So now you can flip this over. Actually, let's tie this in a knot here. Your straggler, make sure your magic ring is closed all the way. I don't want your nose popping open. Not that I think it would, but you never know. So I'm going to tie a wee little knot, leaving a nubby when I cut it. And then I'm going to flip this around. So next round is going to be 2 single crochets and an increase. Your next round is going to be 3 single crochets and an increase. That's number 1, 2, and 3, and then your increase. So, we need to find a nose, and then we need to put it on. I have noses here. This was the one I did before, and I think I'm going to do that one again. Figure out where you want it. I wouldn't stick it into your magic ring, I would stick it maybe just above it. So figure out where you want your nose. At this point, it really doesn't matter where it goes in, as long as it doesn't go into your magic ring. You don't want to try to force that open. You want to put it into a stitch. There we go. There's my little nose. So, we can continue. Your next round is going to be 4 single crochets and an increase. Last round, 5 single crochets and an increase. And then you can fasten off with a sewing tail. Here we go. So fasten off. We're sewing this on open. We're going to stuff it when it's just about sewn on. You can put a little bit in the tip, I think right now. I don't think that'll really matter. So we want this on the inside. So go into your next stitch. Pull this through. Pull it up. Makes it look a little better. So that'll be on the bottom. So nobody will see it. We're going to be sewing a bottom jaw to this. So I did the bottom jaw. So let's sew this bad boy on. So you want it as close to the eyes as possible because we need to make room for the bottom jaw. I'm going to put stuffing in the end of my nose just so I get a better idea of where this is going to go. There, that gives me a better idea. Make sure my nose is going to be straight. You know, at this point, I honestly thought that this looked more like a lemur. But I was going off of a picture of a sloth. A close-up shot of his head. But honestly, doesn't it look like a lemur? So if you wanted to build a lemur, you just have to change the body. There you go. Kill two birds with one stone. So sew this until you're 3/4 of the way around, and then you can put some more stuffing in it. So I need to shove some stuffing up here before I end up closing it right up. I've got this tiny little spot. So I'm just going to use my finger. I don't want to overstuff it either. Certainly don't want to see the stuffing. So, once it's on, you have to move the stuffing around to get all the sides. Here we go. Your sloth. I feel like I got more stuffing over here than over here. So, I'm just going to go down. I'm going to weave a couple of times. I don't really want anything to happen. So we can do the bottom jaw, and then we can sew the whole thing to the side of the planter, and we're done. So the bottom jaw is so quick. I'm going to turn my light up a little bit. You're going to do a magic ring. We're still using our 5mm. Whoa! And it's so quick to make and sew on that why not have one, right? 6 single crochets inside this ring. You're going to do 1 single crochet increase because I want a point on it. For the next 2 rounds, you're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, and then you're going to fasten off. Before you do your 2 rows, make a knot. So your magic ring doesn't pop open. Cut it off, leaving a nubby. Now you can flip this around. So you should have 9 stitches. So I'm just going to count to 18 and call it a day. So that is the bottom jaw. It doesn't have to be big. I go in there, fasten off for the sewing tail. Now you're going to be whip stitching the top closed and then sewing it to the bottom of the jaw. But you still don't need a whole bunch because it's just a few stitches. So make sure this is on the side. So whip stitch this closed in any capacity that you want to. Just make sure it's closed. It's easier to sew on that way. So that is your bottom jaw. So you are going to sew that to this right there, like that. So just make sure. I'm going to pin this because I don't want this to move. Ow, I just stabbed myself. And the last stitch I'm going to pop out up here because I'm going to weave, but I want to pull up on this. And that's what it does, makes the jaw look like that. So I can still move this a bit, but you just gotta press and fluff it around the edges, and that's your sloth head. Now we can sew it to the basket. So this is what it looks like. You only have a small space to sew it. So make sure when you sew it, it's looking off to the side. So it's going to be like this, and then your head's going to be like this, looking off to the side. So whichever end you want facing you, that's what you're going to do. It's just like that. So once I come all the way around, I'm going to weave just through the head. There we go. All done. So that is your sloth plant hanger. And put his head back into shape, but it's hard to show you. But you can see your own. I guess I don't have to show you mine. Anyway, thanks for joining me, guys. I'll see you in the next video.